Remember that old saying, monsters aren't made, they're born, and we are going to be looking at Dexter the Original Sin, but before we get into it, you know what comes up first.
Welcome to the Light, Camera, Rant podcast. Your source for the latest on movies, TV shows, and video games. Get ready for ranting, raving, and reviewing. Here is your host, Lee.
Hi Ranters and Rantettes, welcome back to another episode of Lights Camera Rant. As always, I'm your wonderful host, Mr. Rant, and we are going to be diving into Dexter, the Original Sin. As always, I would like to say thank you to everyone who's brand new for coming and everyone who's returning listener, watcher, everything else in between. I appreciate it as always. Thank you very much. But enough of that. Let's get into this. So, Dexter: The Original Sin is a sequel and a prequel all at the same time. It's a prequel to the original Dexter TV show, and it's also a sequel to Dexter: New Blood, which will lead into Dexter Resurrection that is coming later this year. Which fills in that nice little gap. Not saying I thought we were ever going to get a Dexter prequel TV show or if we really need one at the time. So when this got first announced, I was a bit like, yeah, all right, I guess, sure, why not? Even though New Blood, Dexter New Blood, finished off so good, and if they didn't make another TV show, like it ended Dexter so well, and that was that little piece we needed after the original run of the TV show, and the ending was a bit underwhelming. Very, very underwhelming of this stuff. Oh. That's it. Oh, yeah, that was, that left a lot of fans angry, like myself. So when we got New Blood, did a fantastic way to wrap up the TV show. Even better again with his son, Harry. But yeah, so when this got announced, I was like, okay, good to know. And the fact that Dexter, Michael C. Hall, was actually in this show as the voice of Dexter, played by Patrick Gibson, who did a fantastic job in this TV show playing a young Dexter. The mannerisms, the little bits, yes, the swing, doing the chair spin. Yes, I saw a couple of comments about that one, about the posters. I was like, yeah, I guess, yeah, he did that too. But more just the mannerisms in going into this. So, going into this, it's 10 episodes long. Hour for each episode, so it's still exactly the same as the other show. But the real cool thing about this is as it opens up, we see that Dexter is still alive from Dexter New Blood. He's been taken to the hospital, and basically the opening is, as you're really about to die, it gets time to reflect on your past. So Dexter: The Original Sin is set 15 years before the first episode of Dexter. And it's set in 1991. So we see a young Batista, we see young Dexter, Deborah, Harry in this as well. Harry Morgan as the young version played by Christian Slater, who plays him. And we get a whole bunch of younger cast members from the original TV show. And the casting of the younger version, they did all fantastic. The only probably thing about the young cast that was a bit, I guess it's probably a little gripe I got at the end. One character, if you really like Batista, he was probably one of the characters in this was not used a whole lot, like in the background. Like, I would have liked to see Batista do a whole lot more than what he actually did. Like, it's like 2 to 3 episodes where he doesn't appear at all and he's back. And I was like, it'd be nice to get him as well. But, a young Masuka. We also see Dexter's first original boss, who's played by Sarah Michelle Gellar, who's only in this for about 4 or 5 episodes as well. She's like a hit and miss in the TV show as well, so it's not as consistent. But the show does a great job of showing young Dexter, well, sort of young, in his early 20s, and seeing how a monster can get the code, how he struggles trying to kill his first victim, see how he goes from that, and that whole mindset, the fact as soon as he kills that third victim, he becomes a serial killer. But we see him make mistakes, we see him make it messy, we see him do all those kinds of things, and it does a great job of going on the backstory of Harry and Laura Moser, how Harry and Brian got together in that shipping container, which again, that scene with them is It's still rough to watch. So just like how they ended up there, the whole backstory. So the original show we did get what happened, but obviously not to the extent. So this was a much more fleshed out version. So going forward, if someone tells me like, "Oh, I'm going to start watching Dexter," I say still watch this. Still watch this first because it fleshes out all that backstory really well. We even get Brian, more Brian than I thought we were going to, especially towards the all the way through the show. Brian Moser, the Ice Killer. We actually get him a lot more than I was expecting entirely going into this. And the show does a great job of giving you that background of the characters, seeing this young version, and sometimes with a prequel movie or TV show, sometimes it depending on the gap, it can be too far or too little, or doesn't set up enough, if you will, of how to pick up. But I watched all 10 episodes, and I watched the first episode of the original Dexter TV show, and it blends perfectly. Like I think it gives so much more levity when you watch that original show. Now, because you see all it going leading up to him being the Ice Truck Killer, why Brian wants to see Dexter, so more fleshed out of that character, and just wow, how intense that first season is of who the Ice Truck Killer is, what he does to Deborah, and everything that follows for that season to season. I think it's 7 when Brian reappears, the intense, which we'll find out later. Going to, so definitely go watch that. So the show does a great job of setting up. So there was no official announcement of a second season. I don't think it needs a second season. I don't think it will be getting a second season. But if they don't do it, it ends up his 10 episodes, leads straight into Dexter, and does a fantastic job, and really gets more to his characters of like who they are. And really probably the one things that it really got to me when I was talking to my wife at the time is it really fleshes out how much Harry is a horrible human being, and how pretty much everything is just his fault on everything that follows. Everything that with Dexter, Brian, what happened to Laura, his family, like it's all pretty much like how much he has stuffed up his choices that leads to creating these monsters. How they can be born. So we've got to remember that Dexter was younger than Brian. So Dexter, for a bit, for a few episodes or season 1 as well, he blocks out basically everything that happened to his mother and why they found the shipping container until later on, which this show does. He doesn't remember anything. There's a couple of glimpses where he's like, "Oh, it's like, oh my god, someone got cut with a chainsaw." I was like, "Oh, okay." But that's all we really do get when you find out why Brian was more messed up, what he does and how he's treated, which this show makes you feel for Brian even more. But going through all those emotions, sorry, it is also you do semi know who's gonna live, who's gonna die. Pretty much all the main cast, no one dies. We do get Patrick Dempsey who plays Spencer, the police captain, which was a complete twist of the show that I was not expecting. And again, really shows how one bad day, well, multiple bad days could really take someone down the deep end, and also separates. Again, Dexter, which the first episode of the original Dexter TV show does really well. Again, is showing how the fact of how Dexter feels about people who take children's lives, and how he could just not do that, and the fact what kind of separates him from a serial killer to another serial killer, which keeps that whole thing of why we enjoy watching Dexter, why we enjoy going back and looking at this serial killer that technically deserves everything that happens to him, yet at the same time, as a part of him, he just wants to live a normal life, but this dark passenger keeps pulling him back. So I'm very curious how it's going to happen with Dexter Resurrection, because even the original actor who played Harry for the Dexter TV show is coming into that. So overall, with this 10 episodes, here's the outline. It does a great job. It's not going to be breaking stream records. It's not going to be like, oh my god, it's done so well. It's almost Not so much as bad in comparison to like Solo, where everything just felt like handed. Like, here's your name, here's your gun, here's your ship. Like, beat for beat for beat. This definitely show flush out more, but at the same time, like this is probably more for Dexter fans and altogether. If you're already a fan of the show, you'll like it. Drawing in new people, maybe not so much. Like, this is pretty much probably more of a fan TV show than to try and get everybody else going forward. But look, I would love to know what you guys think about it. Did you like the show? Did you hate the show? Did you hate the cast? I think everyone's acting was solid. I just wish we got more like Angel Batista or LaGuerta, just that little bit more in the scenes. Do you want to see a season 2? I'd love to know what you thought of it in the end. But look, overall, the show was an absolute win. If I had to put on a scale, which I'd say 7.5 out of 10. That's kind of what I put it. But trust me, this is a show I recommend go checking it out. It's worth your time. It's an hour of time, so it's definitely put on that binge list. But yeah, as I said, let me know what you think in the comments. And as always, until next time, happy ranting.
Thanks for listening to Lights, Camera, Rant. If you like the show, don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss a single episode. While you're at it, leave us a rating and review, and be sure to tell your friends. Until next time, happy ranting.